Hi guys, and welcome to this video. Today I am going to be showing you around Siteground's new dashboard. They took away the Cpanel basically, and there is no Cpanel anymore, so it's just going to be this new easy to use user interface dashboard. So let's go right ahead and start. So the first thing you need to do is first log in into your Siteground account. And this is the page where you should be you should come to, and click on the tab that says websites, and right over here you have to see your main website details on this page. Right here it says website details. This is my website that I have set up, and you can go ahead and click site tools, and this is going to bring you to this user dashboard where you can forget about the Cpanel, and it's so much different, and it's so easy to use and very clear to understand. So right here when you come, here is the Siteground logo on the top left corner. Here is the main website that's associated with this account. And then over here on the right you have your question mark, which if you need to get quick help, it gives you could search the database, knowledge base, or the FAQs and whatnot, which could give you a lot of help. And right next to it is basically your account where you can log out, and the appearance of how you want this dashboard to look like. Not really big difference of how it appears. It's just basically the colors, light and dark, and high contrast and low contrast. Well, let's go ahead onto see what this thing is all about. On the side here you have the dashboard. The first thing on top is the dashboard. It says hello to you, and it gives you a little bit of shortcuts telling you what to do, what you can do over here. Just some little tools that are shortcuts over here that we are going to basically going over as we go through the all the other tabs on the side here. It also shows you your IP address, your name servers, and it gives you a little bit overview of your statistics for your website. So basically this is for the main website. I'm not sure, it doesn't show you here for your other websites, subdomains, but let's go over to the second tab is sites. And basically over here is this is where you're going to be managing all the files and databases and all that kind of stuff over here. And the first two is the file manager, FTP Accounts, which gives you two different ways to manage your files from your website directly, of the website files directly. You can use File Manager, which you could upload, download, and even edit different files directly from inside the Siteground dashboard. And let me see if I can show you some editing here. You can go through any folder on your account that you have your website set up, and you will be able to look through all the I have WordPress here set up, so you see all the different WordPress folders and WordPress files. You can also edit the some of these files from within here as well. You could click on a file. You can click on editor. Well, that doesn't do it. Just I believe you have to right click the file and go ahead and you click edit or something like that. So you could do it that way too. So you could edit any file over here, but I don't want to edit files right now. So yeah, I'm just going to close that up. So that's the exploring file. The second thing is FTP Accounts. Now FTP is another way to transfer files from one place to another. You can use the file manager inside here, but FTP you need like a different program. Like one most common one is FileZilla, and these programs are basically gonna be able to transfer files from your computer to your web server to your /website, and it's easier. Some people find it easier, and it's also supposedly can be much faster to do, and it's safe also because you create an FTP account with a username and a password, and that's how you use this software, the FileZilla or other file transfer protocol softwares, in order to transfer your files. So you put in a account password, and you put in account name, and you can create it over here. And this is yeah, I'm kind of repeating myself because this video is a little a voice over it, so I'm not doing it at the same time, and therefore I'm not sure what I actually said originally. But basically that's what FTP accounts are, and you can manage FTP accounts, you can create multiple FTP accounts. Now going on to App Manager, and this is where you can install new applications. We have a lot of different applications you can install, different content management systems. There's different you can install forums and other different, there are a few little different things that you can install here. There's a nice list over here. You see you have Weebly, you have Joomla, there's Drupal, there's also a special WordPress with WooCommerce, and this is where you can install these into the folders. There are ways to manually upload a website with File Manager, but this is one way to do it. And here you have Manage Installations. Over here is where you manage all the installations, your WordPress websites, your forums, anything else from within the install application that you installed. Next thing is the MySQL, and this is the database. Now over here they show two separate ways to go to your database. The first way is the MySQL, which is very common, and here they're using PHP MyAdmin, and this is where your whole website, everything that tells you instructions for your website is held into a database. And this PHP MyAdmin is the database that has the tables of everything for your website. And PHP websites, they need a database in order to content management systems. They like WordPress, they need a database in order to function because they need to call all the information from the database. So over here is and each database has new users, so you have to create a user for each database. So basically you have here your different controls for your database, and you could access the PHP admin directly from within your dashboard. And right here you could see all the different databases. Now the next thing is I'm not sure how to pronounce this word, but it's another type of database software which adds more functionality. If you're not a developer and all you're doing here is installing WordPress websites, and just doing no code at all, you're probably never going to need this, so you can just basically ignore it. Now the next thing is security. The next tab we have here is security and backups. So what they do here in Siteground is they give you an easy way to back up your website every few hours or few days and whatnot, in case something happens when your website updates, something new happens on your website. So it says you get daily backups here, but it doesn't say free. By SSL it says free, by other CDNs it's free. Daily backups does not say free, but it says it's there. So there must be some limit to it. I didn't research what the limit is, but it looks like there was a backup that happened on my site, on my server over here, and you can restore the history, and basically, so that is backups. Now going on to SSL Manager, this is very important that anybody is going to want to do. You can install an SSL onto your domain name so that it's secure. It uses a free Let's Encrypt SSL in order to install. This is a free software out there, and Siteground has implemented it directly into the the dashboard, that you could easily create this SSL. You don't have to code it. There are ways to do it manually using that other tab, import, and you go to Let's Encrypt, you set up a whole thing. Basically, if you're not a web developer, it can be a bit confusing and tedious, and therefore this is a very important feature that they have on here. So you can install SSLs, and connected to this SSL Manager is because we want your website to be safe, to have HTTPS and not HTTP, because if HTTP is not as safe, and Google Chrome is going to tell the users that there is no safety on there. There is no SSL and it's not secure. So what it does is HTTP enforce is going to enforce to have, you can enforce it that if there is a link on the internet that is not that doesn't have HTTPS into your link that goes to your website, you could toggle here and turn it on and make sure that when it comes to your website, it's going to make sure to go to redirect to a secure link, and therefore users will always be automatically on your secure website. You don't have to worry about people leaving your website because it says not secure. Even though you have SSL, it is possible people to come to your website without being secure, and it's not going to look good for you. So that's what it is. You can manage the HTTPS in order to have your SSL configured to make sure the website goes to the correct domain. The next thing is protected URLs. Now, sometimes you have a URL that you don't want accessible to anybody, but you want to limit access to those pages on your website, and you can do that right over here. There are plugins you can do this too. WordPress itself has a feature within each page you could keep private, but for some reason Siteground saw the need to put this over here and to protect URLs. So you can have specific URLs that you can only show to specific users. I'm not sure why they felt the need to put this in here. I mean, it could easily be used as a plugin. I don't know, maybe it was just easy to put and they just threw it in here. This is something not many people would want on the website anyway. So I don't understand why they had to put it. The next thing here we have is blocked IPs. Now you can block an IP address. Let's say someone is trying to hack into your computer and you see from the statistics that this certain IP address is coming here to your website so much that it's trying to hack it or not. You could block their IP address and say that this person's computer who's trying to come to my website cannot, and your website should intentionally basically be blocked from that computer coming to your website. Of course, people can change their IP address, make use of a different computer and whatnot. The next thing is we have Site Scanner, which is a premium feature over here that is going to cost you a little bit more, but it scans your site for malware and constantly is looking up to protect your site so no other malware. Here it says it costs $19.80. What is that, a month? Looks like it. Whatever, it could be a month. So that's what Site Scanner is. You could do schedule reports. You could have immediate alerts. You could do a whole thing. Just could set up everything here, right here in the dashboard, in your Siteground dashboard. The next tab we have here is speed. So the first thing under speed is we have two features. Is CloudFlare. And this feature basically is used by a lot of websites. You could connect CloudFlare as a third-party software, which basically takes your website and moves your website onto many different locations around the world. So when someone comes to your website, which is too far, so it will be much faster for them. The next thing we have caching. And you can read up here what caching services do. Basically, in the end of the day, they make your website much faster, and there are many plugins for it as well from WordPress. But caching does. But Siteground did see to put caching software, and there are 3 separate caching softwares, and these other 2 are premium caching softwares where you have more control over it. The next tab is WordPress. And the first option over here on this tab of WordPress is install and manage. Even though you can install a new application from the other feature from App Manager above, but here is specifically just for WordPress. So if all you do is WordPress websites and you host only WordPress websites, you could forget about Ad Manager and just use this feature over here. You could install a WordPress site or WordPress with WooCommerce, and on the bottom you can manage your installations. I have here 2 installations of WordPress installed with WooCommerce, and on the side here you have different actions that you can update and reset permissions and etc. The next thing for WordPress here is staging. You could create staging copies on your Siteground server. However, my current plan, which is the cheapest plan, they don't give you that option. But what basically is, if you upgrade to a different one, you have this feature to copy a website in order to test new plugins and anything that you want to change onto your website before you make it live. And it gives you a great feature to just click publish, make live, so you could always test your website without having to without putting things on your site. You don't know what's going to happen, and then people come to your site and it's all broken and you're struggling. So you could just test it out right here on the staging side, and which is a really good feature. There may be some plugins. I'm not sure if there are WordPress plugins for this. I would have to check on that, but this is a great feature. I mean, if you're making many different websites, I know you're already getting the second plan. I would say it's good. You should use that. Next thing is Migrator. If you're moving from a different hosting to SiteGround, from one hosting service to different hosting service, you could use this. It's also a plugin. SiteGround Migrator is actually also a plugin you have to install onto your WordPress website. You can read it over here on how to do everything, but basically they made a separate plugin just for you in order to bring your website. It works perfectly well with SiteGround. It does also work with other services, moving from a different hosting to a different hosting, and not SiteGround, but this is what they give you. So basically, when you do that, you need a token, and they generate you could generate the migration token in order for that website, that domain that you are trying to migrate over into SiteGround. The next thing is auto updates. We have here under WordPress. WordPress needs to update in order to keep secure. The best idea is to keep your WordPress website update, and this is where you can control the updates. You can skip an update if you don't want your website to update, and this actually goes back to staging also, because you want to stage your website before you update it. So you'll update here your staging website before you update the main website, and then you'll see how that goes. So here you could also update the settings for different types of updates. So there's minor releases for the main WordPress files. There's major releases. You could set the different dates and time from when they release the updates, when you want the update to install. You could also toggle off updates for all plugins should you want to. I would suggest to do this manually, even though that you can't totally turn off the updates for WordPress on SiteGround. In this dashboard, there are codes and other things you can add into easy way to add to stop these from updating. And I would suggest only doing this once after you tested them on your staging website, because it definitely can mess up your website. The next tab we have here is domain. And the first thing on top is park domain. Sometimes you want to own a domain that is very similar to your own domain. You don't want to use it for a different website. You want it for your own website. You don't want anybody else to buy it. So let's say you have yourdomain.com, and the AI. Sometimes people may write IA instead of AI in the word domain, and therefore you want to park it here, and you want anybody who goes to that link redirects to your website. Many big companies do have that. I've seen Google has that. American Airlines, they own two different. They own AA.com and AmericanAirlines.com. So that's what you can do here. Subdomains, let's say you want to create separate websites with the same domain but on a subdomain. So the main website would be something like over here I have scoretories.net is the main domain, and then subdomain is over here on the bottom you see is sg.scoretories.net. So when you have something dot yourdomain.com, that is a subdomain. And you could create new subdomains and you can install websites on separate subdomains on different subdomains, and you can manage that all over here. Redirects. Now let's say you just change your website. You have new pages or things moved all around because you did a big update on your site. So basically here you can control redirecting the old page to the new page. You could do it permanently, you could do it temporarily. And there are plugins for that, but they do give you the option over here in the back end of your Siteground dashboard. Now, DNS Zone Editor. Now, this only applies if you connect your domain to Siteground from your registrar using the name servers, and therefore you can use all the DNS settings over here. If you keep your DNS by your registrar, then all these settings should be over there and not here in Siteground. So the next tab we have is email. And the first tab is email accounts. So in any domain that you have here, even if it's pointed here with just the IP address and not the whole domain, you could still make separate email addresses per that domain, and you get a whole email inbox. Of course, yeah, it's subject to the amount of storage space that you have on your hosting plan, but you still have this opportunity to have a special domain with a special email address with your domain at the end instead of gmail.com, which doesn't sound so professional. So it sounds more professional to have at yourdomain.com. So I could have it at scoretories.net.com or at sg.scoretories.net. Not .com, whatever. So basically that's it. I like to keep my DNS all by Gmail, and therefore it stays, all hosting is done with Gmail, and I can make a video on that too, on how to do that. Next thing here is we have forwarders. Let's say you want to forward a domain to an email, actually, I'm sorry, we're on email. You want to forward all mail from one email to another email, you could do that there. Next thing we have autoresponders. Let's say you're away from your work and on your email, you want to create or to auto-respond to the person telling them that you're not in the office. You can set that up over here. Filters. Over here you can set up separate filters for your email address. Let's say you don't want certain things coming into your inbox, so you can discard the message, redirect the email, you want to move it to a different folder. So you could basically do all that over there. And all these email features are basically already, Gmail has them in gmail.com when you have your own email from them. So if you're using Gmail, you don't really need these things. So authentication settings, sometimes when you connect to your, let's say, for example, you want to log into your email on other third-party apps like on your phone. So you're going to have to authenticate the process because we don't want anybody logging in. So you might need to use this section as well. But I'm not sure if that's exactly what it's for, but whatever. The next thing is spam protection. You can protect yourself from spam. I think you have to pay for this service because it's a separate service by SolarWinds, which Siteground teamed up with. And it can help if you host your email by Siteground. So this can help you control any potential spam coming to your email. So the next tab we have is statistics, and this is basically just a rundown of all the traffic that's coming to your website. It's not as it doesn't give you all the information as you can get from like Google Analytics or other big top analytics websites out there. So the best thing I would say is to use Google Analytics, but here I guess you could use it as a little rundown. And there are also plugins for this. too for your WordPress website, so you can see what pages people went to, specifically and who went to. So there are, if they're logged in. Here is error log. You can see if there are any errors to your website, and here is access logs. You could see what domains and what pages people access without sending anything up. The last tab we have on the bottom here is devs. Basically, if you're not a developer, you will not be using this. If all you're doing is WordPress websites and just editing everything from inside, is just, you don't need this. But here you have, for developers, you have your Git projects. You could do cron jobs. You could do, sometimes when you're not even a developer, you may need cron jobs, but you're going to have to hire someone who's going to help you. Which cron jobs basically, let's say you need to upload or download or transfer files from one place to another, but you want to do it automatically. And you can choose how often to do that, from as fast as every 30 minutes to as long as like every 3 days or whatnot. So all that kind of stuff will be set up over here. This is, if you want to learn about cron jobs, go ahead and learn about them. But this video, we're not going to be, I kept talking more about cron jobs when I was making the video than I'm doing the voiceover. So I was saying more things about it, but basically that's cron jobs. Next thing is FTP Manager. And this is important for your website because you want to be using the latest PHP script for your website. So even if you're not a web developer, you want to make sure this is updated. And sometimes you may not want to do it, so you can change the PHP version manually before you set anything up to make sure that you won't have any issues with your website once you update it. But usually you should really stay up to date with the latest PHP and then just update your website, because because once PHP updates it, that means that the hackers find anything updates. Hackers find a way to go about things that needed to be updated. The next thing is SSH Key Manager. And SSH keys basically provide secure access over encrypted connections. So it could be like, SSH is another way to log into your server and use kind of like a code thing way of going back, of editing things and transferring files and deleting files and renaming files. So in order to connect, and it's a very secure way of connecting to your website. And in order to do this, you will need to make special keys that only you can connect to it. So basically, there you have it. This is my little rundown. I know it's long, it's like 28 minutes long over here, but it's a rundown of the whole new Siteground dashboard. And so thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, and do everything else you do here on YouTube.